Okay, class, and welcome back to your anatomy and physiology lab. Today we're going to be talking about anatomical positioning and body systems. It has been asked that you do the scale study, which is a study that has been done for several years through the chemistry department, and there is a link on Canvas. You will get extra credit for doing all of the scale studies together. And so, anatomical positioning. This is a standard positioning for a body description. So, it's not your right and your left that you'll be talking about as far as your patients or the models are concerned. It's the exact opposite. It's kind of like looking in a mirror. And so, how you find out what anatomical positioning is, just like the skeleton here, you stand straight up, or if you're lying supine, which is lying horizontally, like laying on your bed, arms down at your sides, and your palms forward. And so, there are three main ways that you can cut or break a body in half. The sagittal, which is specifically mid-sagittal, goes from the midline, which is right in the middle of your body, and sagittal because of sagittal crests that humans used to have, and a lot of apes and monkeys still have, which was right across the midline of their skull. Um, and that one cuts the body exactly in half. You also have the frontal or coronal, which cuts the body into posterior and anterior. And then you have the horizontal plane, which is the superior and inferior planes. Okay, so now that we've kind of cut the body into different pieces, we want to be able to describe those pieces. Remember, your left is the right that you're going to be talking about, and your right will be the anatomically positioned left. If you look at this, medial is towards the midline or central. And then you have lateral, which is away from the body. Proximal and distal are typically only talked about with the limbs. So proximal is towards the body, distal is away from the body. Superior, your head is superior, and inferior towards your feet. You also have the anterior, which is your front, and your posterior, which is the backside, or your posterior is how I remember it. As far as your hands are concerned, you have palmar, which is your palm side, and the dorsal, and you have distal, which remember is distant, and proximal, which is approximate or closer to the body. Your foot is the same way. Plantar, you plant your foot. So that's how I remember it. Distal, again, towards your toes, and proximal towards your heel. Dorsal is the top part. Body cavities. So a cavity is an area in the body, often surrounded by special membranes. Um, these both separate and organize your organs. And so they function independently and efficiently with minimal impact on other organ systems, and that's what makes it a cavity. There are two overarching body cavities, your dorsal, which includes the cranial and vertebral cavities, as well as the ventral, which includes the thoracic cavities, um, the abdominal, and the pelvis or pelvic cavity. There are other cavities inside of the thoracic, but we put it together. So an easy way to remember the different body systems is run Mrs. Limdick, and that's respiratory system, urinary, nervous, muscular, reproductive, skeletal, lymphatic, integumentary, digestive, endocrine, and circulatory or cardiovascular. So this is kind of the areas that we're going to be looking at. You have your thoracic cavity here, abdominal cavity, and pelvic cavity. The cranial and vertebral are the dorsal, and the ventral, of course, is this thoracic cavity, abdominal, and pelvic. And for this specific portion of the class, we are separating the abdominal and the pelvic. So, what exactly do these systems do? The respiratory system, the organs that are within it are the trachea, lungs, and your nasal passages. The function of them is to remove CO2 from the body and deliver O2 or oxygen to the body. The urinary system is the kidneys and bladders. Those are the two organs within it. It functions to control waste balance and remove waste from your blood itself. The nervous system is the brain, spinal, and peripheral nerves. This is the function. This function is to detect and process sensory information and activates the body's responses, allowing those systems to function and start to want to function. So, and next we have the muscular system. This is the skeletal muscles as well as tendons. It helps you to be able to move and helps maintain your body temperature. And so, kind of important. Then you have the reproductive system. You have the epididymis of testes, mammary glands, uterus, and ovaries. These function to produce sex hormones and gametes. Gametes are the reproductive portions that come together to create a baby. So it produces a little bit more than that, but for this portion of the class and P2, you learn a little bit more about that. But for this class, that's what you need to know. Your skeletal systems is your bone, cartilage, and joints. This helps with movement and supports the body. The lymphatic system or the immune system is your thymus, spleen, lymph nodes, and the vessels that are included within it. The functions are to return fluid to the blood as well as to defend against different pathogens. Your digestive system is your stomach, liver, gallbladder, and intestines. and the function is to process food and remove waste. Your integumentary system, that's for mainly protection. It's hair, skin, and nails, and encloses a body structure and is the site of many of your sensory receptors. The endocrine system is comprised of the pituitary, thyroid, pancreas, adrenal glands, as well as your testes and ovaries. These secrete hormones um, and regulate the body's processes. It is the first system that you talk about within AMP2. The cardiovascular or circulatory system is the heart, arteries, blood vessels, and for some reason I have arteries twice. Anyway, so it delivers oxygen and nutrients as well as it helps to equalize your body temperature. So, one thing that I will definitely say is memorizing and putting these into your long term memory will most definitely help you in AP2. As AP2, we go over each and every one of those systems. So, your next task is to do the speed dating activity. There are 6 virtual stations, and the tape colors are yellow for the plane of sectioning. That's a sagittal, front, frontal, or transverse. Blue is the region or cavity. So, and then green is the organ system and function, and pink is the positional marker relative to the tailbone or breastbone. So say if it's inferior, superior, dorsal, plantar, palmar, that kind of stuff. So that's what you need to do next. And this is a little help for the quiz. Hint, hint, it might have something to do with this. What you should do is try to figure out what the 9 different body systems are, and then name the planes that I have labeled 1, 2, and 3 here, and then explain what anatomical positioning is. If you click the notes, you will see the answers to all of that. Okay, next will be the cellular information. So that's what you need to look for next.